Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome. I thought I would try a little something different. Oh no. Can y'all hear me okay? Yes, no? Yes. Okay, good. Just checking. I'm trying a new thing, which I'm sure you can see because I am in a different place. I'm streaming from my office. This is much prettier out here, so I thought I would stream from my living room instead. Hashtag aesthetic. But it means that I have a slightly different setup because I'm not on my desktop. And so I just wanted to like double check and make sure that everybody could hear me okay because I'm super paranoid that these things are going to fail when I try them. So welcome everybody, Cloiso. I'm so glad to see you. Let's see, everybody's looks like, oh, good. Okay. We have a decent amount of people here today. Hi, I'm so glad to see you all. I just finished brewing my tea, so I'm actually going to go ahead and pour myself my cuppa. Try like make sure my shirt isn't. Okay. Ooh. I swear to God, every season I forget how to live stream, and then I spend like the first 3 to 5 minutes sounding slightly like an idiot who doesn't know what they're doing. So thank you all in advance for putting up with that and putting up with me. Let's see. Today's teacup was chosen by Mendy, who is not here on the live stream today because she has got kid-related things that she's doing right now. But thank you for picking out my teacup for me. It's actually one of my favorites. Oh, that's surprisingly good. I'm drinking a new tea today, and I totally forgot the tin over there, but it's actually already in the video description because I picked it out earlier today. I am drinking the Gentleman Pirate by Old Growth Alchemy, and it's the same one. I don't know if y'all remember. I was drinking an herbal tea blend called Boggs Holler, and it was based on the podcast, The Old Gods of Appalachia, which is a favorite of mine, also started by Ascadians. So if you are in the SCA and you like spooky podcasts with a vaguely like cosmic horror, Lovecraftian theme minus the racism, definitely recommend. It is very good. So this company is the same company that came up with that one, and this one is based on Steed Bonnet from Our Flag Means Death, which is one of my favorite things, just in general. And it's really nice. It's like this. It's an herbal blend also, but it's got this really nice sort of tropical like bent to it. It's got like coconut and it's got a couple of different blossoms in there. And I think it has honeybush in it, but I'm not sure. It's really good though. It's nice and light. Like because it's herbal, there's none of that like tannic black tea, which I love, but like this is very light, very floral. Probably the amount of honey I put in here helps because it is actually raining. I don't know if you can hear it. Probably not. It's actually raining today and has been since yesterday. So my sinuses are very unhappy right now, even though I am very happy. So I've had like a little bit of like sinus drainage and a little bit of a sore throat. I did take a couple of COVID tests spaced out over the event, like after the event last weekend. So I'm reasonably certain it is not COVID. As much as, home tests taken over several days can tell you that, but it feels very in line with the sinus crap that I get when the weather changes. So I'm just going with that right now. So this feels really nice on my throat. All right, what do we got here? Hoping your autumn stream summons actual autumn. Same, bro. Same. It has been in the double digits this week, and it has been incredibly lovely. I've gotten to the point of Texas summer where I feel like being down in the double digits, like even mid to high 90s, feels incredibly temperate, because when you're at 95 as compared to 105 to 110, that's 10 to 15 degrees cooler, and it feels very nice. But we're actually down to like high 80s right now. I woke up this morning and it was like 70 degrees this morning and raining. And it still feels really weird to live in a place where 70 degrees and raining feels like autumn, but it does. So I'm going to take it. You sound just like our friend. Oh, well, one, good. I'm glad, because I try to be really friendly. And two, if that is a reference to an actual other person, like, awesome. Thank you. You have very good taste in friends and should keep them. Is the teacup from Nicoletta Carlone? No, this teacup, I'm actually, I hate talking about this. Actually, this teacup is from Killstar, and I bought it. So Killstar is a really problematic Gothic company, for a lot of different reasons. They sell really questionably ethically sourced stuff, and they have a lot of racism in their campaigns. I bought these things before I knew about that. And I've thought about getting rid of them. I love them so much. I will never buy anything new from them ever again. And I probably won't even buy like secondhand stuff from them. But I decided that I was going to keep these things because I love them. And then when other people also love them, to take this opportunity to talk about why they are not an ethical company and why I don't buy from them. So I kind of feel like they're serving an educational purpose as well. But they're so pretty. Oh, Mindy's here. Hi, Mindy. Look, I used your teacup. I don't know if you can see it very well. And let's see. Raven, I don't know if I said your name right. I'm sorry. In Scotland, it's been weird summer weather, wet and rainy. So the funny thing is that here in Austin, June is usually one of the rainier months, like the rainiest month historically, followed by May and October, actually. But we have not had rain since May. We were 112 days with no rain here. And this is looking like it's going to be the new normal because climate change. So I'm really, really, really enjoying this kind of first rain of the season. So I don't know. Everything is on fire, quite literally. And it's really frustrating to, like, I've lived here for almost 13 years, over 13 now. And even when we moved here, when I first moved here, it was not like this. It was getting like this. I think 2011, 2012 was like one of the first summers that they saw 100 days of 100 degrees over the course of a summer. But that was really a fluke, and it stayed a fluke for like another almost 10 years. And then in the last couple of years, like maybe like the last 3 or so, 3, maybe 4, it's gotten really much worse. Let's see. Body temperature is a big improvement over very dangerous fever. Yes, that's true. And luckily, the wet bulb temperature is not as bad here as it has been in some places, because it is relatively dry here. It's very rarely over like 50%, 60% humidity here, as opposed to where partner lives in Houston. 65, 70 degree or 65, 70% humidity is like an average day. And so the wet bulb temperature there is always way higher than it is here. And for those of you who don't know what wet bulb temperature is, prepare to be info dumped at. Basically, wet bulb temperature, because our bodies cool by evaporation, right? We sweat, it evaporates, we cool down. The amount of humidity in the air affects how effectively our bodies can cool ourselves. So the higher the humidity, the less effective our temperature regulation systems that are built in are. And so when you get to a point where you can't sweat because the humidity is so high that it is completely ineffective, and it gets so hot that it becomes really, really, really difficult to regulate your body temperature, that temperature is really dangerous, can get really dangerous. And I think it's like not in the 90s, it starts to get really bad. And so luckily the wet bulb temperature, how they measure it is they wrap a wet cloth around a thermometer. And then because of the evaporation, like it measures that temperature and everything. Luckily it's not as hot here for that. And so like people who are outside all of the time, construction workers and unhoused people and all of that, have a little bit of an easier time here than they do in Houston, even though it is hotter here than it is in Houston most of the time. Anyway, it's cooler out now and I love it. So very happy. Don't get rid of them. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking. I don't want to get rid of them. I don't want to thrift. I don't want to like donate them because I don't want other people to like, how do I keep them out of circulation while using them for an educational moment? This is how. And I try pretty hard to be having soda will even I was gonna have like a little Tornado made brownies the other day and I was like, oh, I can have a brownie on my live stream and we can all have like a lovely snack together. And then I realized that like the last thing that I want to do while I'm sitting here is like eat in front of you. Because it feels really weird to be like filmed eating, or I don't know. Like I still have like weirdness about putting that in my videos. And it feels really like I just don't want to like make mouth sounds at you guys. It's not nice. Like that feels really rude. Kamano Island checking in. Where is that? I have never heard of that before. That's awesome. Hi. I love to see like when people tell me like where they are. I love to see that. So hi, Kamano Island. Let's see. Usually get a rain right up to June. I know, Tamika, right? And then like we don't get any for like July and part of August, and then it kind of starts up again, but not that. Oh my gosh. Will you be able to see the eclipse next month? I am actually a little bit farther east than the path of totality. Not to bring up SCI politics and all of the mess there, although I will talk about that if somebody wants me to talk about that. Our coronation is actually going to be out in, we put my necklace on backwards, is actually going to be out near the path of totality. So we will have an eclipse coronation next month. And I'm still debating about whether I'm going to try and go. It's going to be out in San Angelo. If anybody in Texas wants to come, it's in San Angelo. Hit me up on Instagram or anywhere else and I'll get the information to you. But it's kind of like far, and I think I will have tornado that weekend. And there's part of me that really kind of wants to go just so that they can go see the eclipse too. But it's far and I'm lazy. So I don't know. We'll see. We're not going to get much of a show here, but if we go a little bit west, we will. Yay, info dump. I was so glad somebody else enjoys that because I really love doing it. 40 plus Celsius. Oh, friend, that sucks. 40 degrees Celsius weeks at 70 to 80% humidity. That's where it starts to get really dangerous. The higher the humidity, the higher the temperature. 40 is like in the 90s Fahrenheit. So, Joey Kim's here. Hi. All my friends are on here. It's very nice. I love seeing you. I feel like having friends. Yeah. See, I don't know. I've already had like people, one person like soliciting material from me that if they were on another website, you would have to pay money for. Like somebody really wanted to see me operating my sewing machine, like to put my camera down by the pedal, if you know what I mean. And I told him no, because not for free. Absolutely not. Like obviously sex work is work and we respect all workers in this house. But I'm not doing that for free. And that is not the point of my content, friend. So no. And there are a lot of people who have similar responses to eating. And again, not the point of my content, not for free. Thea, what was I thinking about getting rid of? Oh, I have a couple of Killstar teacups. This one actually is too. And it's not an ethical company. So I just usually, when I use them and people ask about them, take this moment to be educational about the company. Flaming Griffin. Hi, Mid-Realm. That's where I started. I started in Mid-Realm. Australian. Oh, very cool. Indigenous Australian seasonal cycles. They're very cool. That's something that I've never looked into, having been a Northern Hemisphere girl my entire life. But I love seeing how people adapt to different climates and the ways that those climates intertwine with their lives. Like the intentionality of those things is really interesting to me. You know, on video. Yeah, see? And the whole point, Star Dancer, is I'm talking to you all. And if I mute myself when I eat, then we get a really, really awkward couple minutes of live stream. And we can't have that. I want to be awkward intentionally while I'm talking. That's 40C's 104. Oh, thank you. That is a little bit higher than I thought. Please talk about SCA on Stero stuff. Okay, I'm going to put a pin in that. I have a couple of things. I actually have a notebook, and I have like a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about on here, but I will definitely make sure that I get to that before the end of the stream, because I feel like once I get started talking about that, I'm not going to talk about anything else afterwards. So Texas is bigger than France. That is true. Texas is bigger than France, and Houston is bigger than the city of London. Not the London metro area, but the city of London. Houston is bigger than that. The ring road that goes around. There are actually two. So it's built like a spider web, kind of. And there's one smaller ring road and one larger ring road. And the circumference of the outer ring road is bigger than the city of London. So everything is huge here. Everything is huge. Like, we don't measure distance in miles or kilometers. We measure it in hours. So like San Angelo is a few hours west of me, and that won't even be like halfway across Texas. So yeah, not for free. Oh no, I just jumped around. Whoops. Let's see. The annual, no, okay. So the total eclipse next year. I already have some tentative plans for doing that. A friend of mine, they're actually probably not on the stream right now because they're currently not living in my time zone, and I think they might be asleep. But they own their family owns land right in the path of totality, and we have thought about like going out there and making it kind of a camping weekend, so that we can do the whole thing. And I've thought about like getting the setup for the camera and seeing like taking pictures of the sun, not a good idea. Just like looking at the sun, not a good idea. But much like they have eclipse glasses where they have manufactured filters strong enough that you can actually look at the eclipse, they have the same thing for camera lenses. And so there's part of me that's like, I could do that. I could do that. And then there's another part of me that's like, you just bought this expensive camera. Do not do that. So I haven't decided yet whether I want to try and like actually get photographs of it, or whether I'd rather just experience it. And, you know, there are going to be people out there who have professional level stuff, who know what they're doing. They're going to take much better pictures of it. So I'm okay with kind of not, but I would still like to go because it's so close and it would be so fun to go. Yes, April. But okay. Lazy as a shorthand for prioritizing other things. How's that? I'm going to read that whole comment out loud because I have been read for filth. So, but I'm lazy, says the full-time working single mom with a time-consuming side hustle and a baronial office. I'd like you to lower your voice, please. It's rude. But yes, it's not that I'm lazy. And I really shouldn't say that I'm lazy, because while I know what I mean by that, and I feel like a lot of people out here who are kind of, wink, wink, nudge, nudge in the same boat know what I mean by that, there are probably some people out there who are actually thinking that it's meant to be self-deprecating. When I say lazy, what I really mean is that I have a lot going on and I'm choosing to prioritize certain things in my life and then making a joke about it. But yes, I do a lot. Probably more than I should. Hi, Fanny. Oh, sorry you're late. Whatever. It's fine. These things always go like way longer than actual videos. So no big deal. Let's see. Kawano Island is in Washington State in the Salish Sea, north end of the Puget Sound. Very cool. Welcome. I was just re-listening to a couple of podcasts that I really enjoyed back when they came out that are set in the Pacific Northwest, and some of them take place really near the Puget Sound. And I wish that they had aged better than they did, because I really enjoyed them when they came out. But there are very few like horror podcasts that stand up to the test of time, and those were not some of them. So it's very. Let's see. As far as I'm aware, Nicolette Corleone is an ethical small business. Oh, very cool. Yes, I will definitely check them out, because I love adorable spoopy teacups. Let's see. Coming to Texas for the eclipse next year. Yes, absolutely. Come. It's very cool. I can't wait. I love the eclipse. And actually shows when the last one came through Texas, we got a partial occlusion. We didn't get a full totality. But I took like all of the people. I was working in an office building. And I took all of the people out in my office building outside, and I showed everybody how to make little like pinhole cameras so you could see the eclipse. And I have pictures of like, there were trees outside of the business park. And so I have these pictures of the sidewalks just covered with all of these like half moon, quarter moon shapes, because of the way that the sun through the trees acted like little pinhole cameras. And there were just like everything that was dappled in moon shapes. And it was just like one of the more beautiful things that I've seen in my life. So, the total eclipse came over. Yes, same one in 2018. Yep, same thing. Painting historical teacups to be like goth versions of historical. It would be. I have done something similar. I've taken some teacups that I found and I've wrote like silly things on the inside, but I don't have actual like ceramic paint and things to make it lasting. But anyway, it would be fun. Let's see. Camping weekend from Massachusetts. Aw, I love you too. Okay, I think I'm basically caught up here. All right, cool. I was the scout leader. So funny story. I grew up in a Girl Scout camp. My mom was a lifelong Girl Scout. I never made it past brownies personally, but my father, when I was young, was the camp ranger for a Girl Scout camp in the state where I grew up. And so I basically saw Girl Scouts every single weekend of my entire year, and for 2.5 months in the summer, every single day. And yes, I can start a fire, and I know all of the Girl Scout camping, like camp out songs and all of the things. It was a really weird childhood, y'all. Fun, but weird. Okay. Cool. Oh, hello, Philadelphia. That's one of my favorite cities. I actually really love Philadelphia. All right, I'm going to put this down because I have a couple things now that, I've spent 25 minutes just rambling on. Okay. I just said what tea I'm drinking. Gentleman Pirate by Old Growth Alchemy. Link in the comments already, or link in the description already. So, And speaking of tea, one of the things that I wanted to ask or, solicit suggestions on is last year I did the advent calendar of tea, and that was really, really popular. Everybody said how much they loved it and they loved seeing it, and I had a really fun time making it. And even though it was like slightly grueling to make videos every single day, I feel like I learned a lot doing that. And I would kind of like to do it again. But when I would really kind of love to do this year would be to get to like send me tea. I will, everybody who sends me like tea, or the first 21 people who send me tea, I will use your tea samples and credit you, on, in there and everything. So I just thought it would be really fun to like have everybody send me some of their favorite teas, with the information of like where you got it, what the tea's name is, how you would like to be credited. Like if you have an Instagram handle or, whatever, however you want to be credited in the video. And I think this would be a really kind of fun twist on not just me going through my stash and picking out 21 teas, which I still could do and have all different teas than last year because I have a problem. But I thought this would be kind of a fun way to make it a little bit more interactive and to like involve everybody else sort of in it. And so I'm going to start accepting tea samples. My P.O. box is in the description as well. So if you want to be involved with this, I'll make a post closer probably to the middle of October is kind of when I want to, I think, start being intentional about gathering all of these things. But I will put a list out of the things that I need and how to get them to me and everything. And I think I'm going to do that this year instead of just going through my own stash. So y'all get the jump on this. So you can be some of the first people if you want to. The only thing that I ask that you don't send me is tea with coffee in it. My body has a bad reaction to coffee. And so I can drink about a sip of it, and that's about all I can take. I don't like the taste of it anyway, so I don't miss it. But I don't want to drink a whole cup of coffee that has tea in it. So no dirty teas, please. Will you accept home tea blends or commercially available only? That's a good question. I had not intended, well, I hadn't thought about it. I had just kind of figured that everybody would potentially send commercially available stuff. The only reason that I hesitate, I mean, I guess it would be okay if you had just a list of ingredients on there, not necessarily for me, because like coffee is the only food sensitivity that I have. And it's not even that bad. I'll just, be annoyed for a day, basically. But I do have people in my life who have allergies, way more severe allergies to foodstuffs. So I just need to know what's in it so that I can make sure to use like proper precautions for things like that. So yeah, if you wanna have a tea blend, go ahead and send it. That's fine. If you have like a local small company or something like that you want to make sure gets support, send one of those. And I would love to, like, y'all know, I love shouting out relatively small tea companies. So, oh God, sorry. So yeah, either way, I think either way, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to be trusting of everybody. So, coffee is rough for me too. Yeah. I did a stupid thing before I was in college. I was living out in California, and I did not have the most stable of living situations or financial situations. And so I was working at a bookstore that had a free coffee bar for employees. And so I would often skip lunch and just drink coffee. And I sensitized myself to it, and I could not drink it, like to the point where I would throw up every time I drank it. Not just because I had an aversion, but because it literally would make me throw up. And I quit I quit coffee. That's actually when I really started to get, into tea. But now it doesn't affect me that way so much anymore. It's been long enough that I think my body is kind of reset on it, but I still don't love the way that the caffeine absorbs in my body, and it makes me all jittery, and I do kind of get like a slightly upset stomach still, so I just don't love it. I just don't love it. Let's see. Senior, yeah, Gold Award. See, I know what all of these things mean because I grew up around Girl Scouts. I just never really was one. I figured why go to the meetings and stuff when I just could stay home and do all of this stuff there, because either my mom was like having us do crafts and, all of these things that we would normally do, or I was actually just being around Girl Scouts and doing activities and camping stuff with them unofficially. So that's fine. Rochester, New York. Oh, I know where that is. My family lives in Western New York. Those my devices. No, sorry. I have a few alarms because neurodivergent people can't keep track of anything on their own. So I just forgot to turn my alarm off. I have everything muted, so everything's muted. I'm not getting any notifications or anything. But I forgot to turn my alarm off. Oops. Yeah. My dad drank a lot of coffee. It's probably one of the reasons I never really got super into it. My dad also is a creature of extremes, and so he drank coffee, but he wouldn't drink a cup or 2 cups of coffee. He drank 3 or 4 pots of coffee a day. And so I just never really wanted to drink it for a long time. And then I made myself sick on it. So let's see, what else? I'm sure you all have noticed that I cut my hair. It is not as long as it was. But I have had some questions about, especially since I did the manuscript challenge, and I had the braids, the template braids, and I wore them to my Kingdom Arts and Sciences event recently too, this past weekend. And I had a couple people ask me how I did it. And so was wondering if people might be interested in me making a tutorial on how I achieve that. I think if I do that, it might be a bonus video, because I don't think it's going to necessarily need to be something super long. But it didn't really occur to me that people couldn't figure it out or wouldn't know how to do it. Another one of those things, you don't know what you don't know until somebody tells you that you don't know how to do it, or that they don't know how to do it. So I think I'm going to do that. It is still long. It's very funny because I did it. Partner came out and took a couple of days off because of the Starfield video game release. And so he was out here for 6 days, which was very lovely. I highly recommend sharing space with your significant other if you can. But I was like, hey, I'm going to cut my hair. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to cut it. And he's like, this is really sudden. And I was like, only because you don't live in my head. I've been thinking about doing this for months. And he was like, oh, are you okay? And I was like, yes, I'm fine. I just, it's really long and it tangles on everything, and the ends are very damaged because they have been growing for so long. And I can't do the hairstyles that I like to do because it's actually too long to do any of them. And it's so heavy and it's so hot. So I went and I cut about 13 or 14 inches off my hair, and it's still below my waist. So I spent the first day and a half kind of wandering around with my hair down, because this is the most I've worn my hair down in 2-3 years, because it was such a hassle to have it down. But I just kept wandering around and being like, it's so short. It's so short. It's so short. And he'd be like, babe, it is not short. It is not short. And I'm like, I guess you're right. So it's very, just comparatively speaking, it felt very short. I cut a third, maybe a quarter of my hair off, and it, was just, it's still very long. Anyway, so I think, is there a special reason to go live today? Oh, I do a live every solstice or equinox, the week closest to it. It's one of the ways that I keep myself accountable and give myself a break from having, too many projects or everything on the go. Kind of relates back to the whole like, oh, I'm lazy thing earlier. No, it's a seasonal kind of State of the Union channel thing, and it makes sure that I take at least one video's worth of break. So that's what this is, and there will be another one close to the winter equinox here in the northern hemisphere, summer equinox or summer solstice. Sorry, in the southern hemisphere. So sometime in December there will be another one. Boop, boop, boop. Anything else? Okay. Yes. It's just, for a while it was really fun to have very, very long hair because, it's like a novelty and you get to be like, oh, my hair is the longest in the room. And for a very long time, I kind of embodied that idea of the Little Women, where before Jo cut all her hair off, and when she does, and then Amy looks at her and says, Jo, you're one beauty. My hair has always been kind of the reliable one beauty that I've had, or that I felt that I have. That is not me fishing for, physical compliments. That is just me stating what my self-perception has been in the past. And so it was like, it was a way to be est, right? It was the way to be superlative in some way. I have the longest hair. And I just don't feel like I need to be that anymore. I don't feel that that's necessary. And I would rather have a hair length that allows me to wear it out where I can actually enjoy its length and not stick to everything. Having a velvet chair and wearing your hair out is probably one of the stupider things that I could do in my life, but I don't care. It's fine. I loved your recommendations of beach house teas. Yeah, they're so good, right? Somebody sent them to me. I don't even remember where I found them. I think either a viewer or like another person that I was friends with in the YouTube community, I think sent me some. And yeah, that one's one of my favorites. I use it a lot. What is the model of your spinning wheel? It is an Ashford traditional. I don't know if I can pull it out. It is an Ashford traditional, and then I have a jumbo flyer on it to make sure that, especially when I'm plying yarn, I have enough space on the bobbin to get the whole thing on there. And it used to belong to a friend of mine who is also a viewer, whose family also owns the land that we might go see the eclipse on next year. I got it from them when they moved and couldn't take it. So it's very fun to play with. But I'm always sewing. I don't have a lot of time to like do other things anymore. So do you have palpitations with coffee? No, not usually. It does make me feel a bit jittery, but I don't find that it actually affects my heart or anything. I just feel anxious. Like my anxiety is at like a more cowbell level of anxiety. And then I feel like I'm going to throw up. And that's really all coffee does to me. And the taste for me is not worth it, especially when tea is more delicious, fight me, and doesn't make me feel like that. So it makes me a little nuts that you didn't pour out the last bit of tea. It's got some dregs in it. It's got, I don't know if you can see it very well, but see, it's got a little bit of sediment in it. And so I just didn't want to pour the rest of that in there. It's probably nothing bad or anything. I just don't like the mouthfeel of the sediment. So I'm not going to drink all of that. Sorry. Treadle wheels always make me yearn. Yeah, I know. I feel the same actually. I love them so much. But I can't treadle. I actually have an electronic wheel. It's over there. So I can't. I'm not going to go get it or anything, but I have an electric eel wheel, the 6.0, so it's the bigger version of it. And I will use that sometimes if I'm not in a position where I can use like the big wheel or anything. So best of both worlds. And also I have a million spindles too. So don't like coffee. Yes. So funny story. I did actually have the Nano. I backed both eel wheels on Kickstarter when Maurice did both of them. And I really, really, really enjoyed the Nano as an introduction. But once I got the 6, I found it to be a little bit more powerful and not quite as finicky and almost as portable. So when I want to be mobile with it, I don't find that the size difference was enough to make me choose the Nano over the 6. For everybody's reference, the spinning wheels that we're talking about are the eel wheel is about this big, and then the 6 is about this big. So it's not super different, but I found that the motor in the 6 was just big enough to be a little bit closer to what I really wanted out of a portable electric wheel. So I actually sold my Nano to one of my viewers, actually. She said that she was looking for one, and I was like, coincidentally, I have one. And so I hope she's really enjoying it. Melody. My cat gets way more interested in me spinning than she does Forever Crash. So Bran used to try to stick his nose in the wheel when I first got it. Well, not this one, but I had another wheel before. And he's like, for the first week that I would spin, he used to try and like investigate. And so he put his nose into the wheel one time. And then whenever I'd get the wheel out, he would like sit where he could see it and just like glare warily at it, which is always hilarious to me. He got revenge though, because he really likes chewing on like strings under tension. And so he bit through my brake band, the drive band like this right here. He would just chew it until it broke on like every single one, like to the point where I started having to take the drive band off and like let it be slack every single time I wasn't using it, because he would just chew on it until not wires, just string. He was a little weirdo. Let's see. Legendary coffee on the scale of cowboy. Yeah, it's we'll make a chart. We'll make a chart for that. You can spin wool with a stick and twisting the wool. Yep, absolutely. It I have so somebody who lives in my kingdom here will often teach kids to spin, and she teaches them with just a stick and some string, and so they will go home with like a little piece of string about this long that they have spun and plied. It's kind of fun. Like, she's really great with kids. It's really fun to sit and watch her, like, get the kids interested and do every step along the way, because she'll have, like, raw wool, and then she has, like, dog brushes, like slicker brushes that she uses as carders. And so the kids will take, will, pick vegetal matter out, and then they card it, and then they spin it, and then they ply it. And so they go home with this little tiny piece of string that they have made kind of from beginning to end. And they always look very proud of themselves. And I'm very gratified by that. Sorry for being late to the live stream. No, I'm just glad you're here at all. Okay, let's see. So good news, everybody. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, which is I don't even have any words. It's insane. Like, I am so gratified again by all of the people who find my content useful or relatable or enjoyable in any capacity. So, this one's kind of a big milestone for me. 1,000 subscribers was a big milestone for me, and 5,000 was too, and 10,000 is going to be like really, really special to me, I think, for a lot of reasons. So I'm going to do a giveaway for that. Like literally we're under 50 people. The last time I looked, which was right before, I guess I could look, but the last time that I looked, we were 45 people away from 10K. So it's probably going to happen sometime before the end of this month, I think, which is mind blowing to even consider. And I'm going to do a giveaway for the gold work bag that I made, since I think that's a relatively like big, sort of beautiful project that I did. So once we hit 10K, I'll do that and I'll announce it and everything. And I think I'm going to do what I did last time, is not hold it on Instagram or anything, because I know there are people who don't cross platforms, and I want to try and keep it as available to everybody who is a subscriber as possible. So I'll probably put it on my website again, and I'll announce it everywhere, and I'll put links everywhere, just to make sure that everybody can get to it. Are the marks on your forearm freckles or a tattoo? If they're freckles, your freckles look like a constellation. Both. They are both. It is Orion. So you should be able to see it is the constellation Orion, which I got to look like freckles. And some of them are real and most of them are not. But yeah, it is, I think, probably one of my, I only have 3 tattoos, but this one I'm really quite fond of, and I'm very happy with how it came out. So I have one, and then my cousin has one also that is on actually her other arm here. So we have kind of matchy tattoos that way. Yes. So we got that. I do have a big event coming up in November, the War of the Rams, which is a big, well, big. It's a middling size event that is a little bit longer than a weekend, and it is a war between our kingdom, Ansteora, and the neighboring kingdom of Glenavon, to the east of us. And I think I might do a vlog for that, and sort of, I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet. It's been a little while since I've done an event vlog, and I thought it would be kind of fun to do something like that again. So I think I might do that. Oh yeah. Thank you so much. You're welcome. No worries. I don't want to go on for too long about Ansteora and the politicking that was happening in Ansteora, but I also don't want to pretend that wasn't a thing that happened. And somebody did ask me to talk about it, and since I've gotten through just about everything else that happened, or that I wanted to get through, I'm going to take the last 10, maybe 15 minutes and just kind of go over a little bit about what happened and why it was kind of a big deal here. So for those of you who don't know, I play in the SCA. I'm sure you're all very surprised. And I live in the Kingdom of Ansteora, which is all of Oklahoma, most of Texas. And recently, a few months ago, we had a crown tournament, which is how we choose our leadership. Not my favorite way of choosing leadership, but it is what it is right now. And the person who won the crown tournament is somebody who is known to be very conservative politically and socially. And I don't agree with his politics. I don't agree with his stances on things. And regardless of how I feel about him personally or not personally, I was a little worried about his reign coming up. And so a few weeks ago, after, how is your kingdom's name pronounced? Ansteora, Ansteorra, Ansteora, 1 star, because the Lone Star State, and also Oklahoma. So Ansteora. And in sign language, it is 1 star. Ansteora. There's your little useless tidbit for the day. Anyway, so a few weeks ago, there's so much convergent information. So bear with me while I probably jump around a little bit more. A couple of years ago in Ansteora, when the SCA in general made a push towards more intentional policies of diversity, equity, and inclusion, there were some people in the SCA who did not like that. I'm sure you're all very surprised. And one of those people lived in my kingdom, and he was very mad, and he wrote this huge, there's ASL signs for all the kingdoms. I don't know all of them, but they all have them. And some of the baronies also have them. But we try to have, like, silent heralds is what they're called. So ASL interpreters, and they're volunteers as well. But so we don't always have them. We don't always have them for courts, but I try really hard to, like, make sure that I take pictures and stuff of them to be grateful and to be thankful for them. But anyway, yes, every kingdom has an ASL sign, which I think is pretty cool. But to get back, so this guy, his name was Galen. He wrote a manifesto, a screed, if you will, about how the woke mob was killing the SCA, and about how just every awful thing that you can think of, that it was like white supremacist bingo. That, TERF talking points, all kinds of transphobic talking points, racist talking points, Nazi talking points. It hit them all. And I think he was writing it to kind of dare the SCA to do something about it. And they did. They banished him. They kicked him out. And then around the same time, there was another person also from Ansteora who actually threatened to kill people who voted Democrat. He also was kicked out. But so when this happened, there was an organization that had been founded, not in Ansteora, I believe it was in Florida. I could be wrong about that. Please don't quote me. That was started as a reaction to the SCA being more intentional with its inclusivity policies than it had been before. And so they decided that they were going to be Western European only, like, you could, if you wanted to, play a culture that was, not European, but with the understanding that you were basically a second-class citizen. You could play for as long as, it took you to find a group that, like, met your needs better. So it was very much you're here on sufferance. And it was pretty awful when that happened. And so a lot of the people who were angry went and decided to play with them, and they have made it a point to be very reactionary against the SCA. I love how careful you are with your language. It's really important to me that what I say is true, and accurate. Accuracy in language is very important to me, and also beyond contestation. I don't want there to be a person who comes across this video and my explanation of what happens who can take what I'm saying and refute it based on, an inaccuracy or a name calling of some kind. Partially because there is an effective bullying, an anti-bullying, anti-harassment policy in the SCA, and I don't want them to use that policy against me or against anybody that I mention in here. And also because I don't want them to be able to point to a tone or a word or one inaccuracy as if I am doing these things in bad faith. So yes, I am being very careful. I am tone policing myself incredibly hard right now because I have a lot of big feelings about how this entire thing went down. So this organization is kind of full to the brim of people who are unsettled and disconcerted by the idea that the SCA is encouraging people to explore cultures other than Western European and to make sure that we celebrate and uplift people who are marginalized in the mundane world, such as trans people. And they're all very good at sea lioning and whataboutisms. They're always just asking questions or, just pointing out tradition. And it's very infuriating to me. So a couple of weeks ago, this crown prince took his regalia. There had been some question on the Discord, on my Discord, about whether he was allowed to take this regalia, as in if it had been checked out. We do not have a quartermaster who checks in and out regalia every single time. They are signed out at the beginning of a reign, and they are signed in at the end of a reign, and that's kind of it. So there was no stealing of regalia. He had them rightfully in his custody. But he wore them to a coronation of this other organization. Some friends of his were getting crowned king and queen, and he wore them. And he was in court. He was introduced to their court, basically as a crown prince of Ansteora and treated as an emissary. And during their court, he spoke and basically said that he was there to offer an olive branch to those people who felt left behind and, pushed out and marginalized because of this new inclusion policy and, whatever. So that went over like a lead balloon. And there was this whole big backlash against it from the kingdom. There were a lot of people who were very unhappy, myself included, that this was done. Not necessarily because he went to an event. I wish that he hadn't, because I don't love that I don't love that people are like going to these places because I don't want people to be defining their organization by who they exclude rather than who they include. And I don't love that somebody who is a leader in our community is associating with people who have been kicked out. Like, I don't love that. But socially, I don't have anything that I can say about it. But he didn't go socially. He went officially. And he did it without consulting Ansteora as a whole. He did it without consulting the king and queen who are still sitting. He is still only prince. He is not king yet. So he did it without consulting our crowns. He did it without consulting his crown princess, who I believe she knew he was going to go. She did not know that he was going to go in a semi-official capacity as Crown Prince of Anstyra. So he did that. There was a whole big hue and cry sort of raised. Nobody was really happy. Couple of days after that, he posted this post in the Kingdom group saying, I think it was meant to be an apology, and that is the kind of thing that people say at a time like that, and that they are expected to say at a time like that. There was no actual apology involved. There was I have been playing since the 1980s, and here is why I did these things. So it felt very much as it came off very much as I did these things and here's why I'm right. Well, actually, it's okay that I did these things because. And he stated very, I'm sorry you're offended that I'm offended. I mean, it's whatever. But like, it was this, there was no apology in that, and there was no addressing of how the populace was feeling and the reasons that they were angry. It was, yeah, it wasn't even an I'm sorry you're offended. It was a you shouldn't be offended because I know what I'm doing. And that was, um, it was not the vibe. It did not go over well at all. So, not only was the kingdom pissed before, it was pisser after that. And eventually the king and queen put out a statement that was basically like, hey, we hear you and there is an investigation happening. We have forwarded your concerns to the appropriate parties. Continue writing to us, write to the board. Thank you for making your opinions known and your feelings known. And the board of directors of the SCA removed him as crown prince. And allegedly, he was not very happy about that, which I understand him not being happy about it. But the statement from the board said that he would not be ruling, that he was being removed, and that the crown princess had the option, basically that she could make a choice, that she could follow her conscience, whether she felt like that was going to be a good idea for her to rule alone or whether other options might be explored. What those other options would be, I don't know, because she has decided to rule alone. So she will be crowned queen of Anstyra, which is going to be a really interesting thing because we've never had, I don't believe, a solo queen of Anstyra. It's happened in some other kingdoms, usually through the path of death or misadventure, varying degrees of misadventure. But this will be, I believe, the first time in Anstyra that we have had a queen be crowned solo and rule solo. So I guess we'll see how that goes next month and for the next 6 months. There was some feelings about her. Her first statement about the whole thing was that they were standing united. This is before the board of directors' decision came down. And so I think there were some people who were like, wait, so does that mean you're supporting him and you support, his decision to do this thing? But I don't entirely think that's what she meant. And I don't know. We'll see. She did detail last weekend, she made a statement to Anstyra, and that statement was recorded so that people can see it. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I know that it was on our Facebook page, but she made a statement about her willingness to rule alone and her commitment to following the will of the populace and to ruling in a way that was in line with what we want, basically. I think that it's really important to note as well that when she was Kingdom Seneschal for a while, and during her tenure as Kingdom Seneschal is when we instituted in Ansiora the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. The DEIB office here in Ansiora. We were not the first. I don't believe that we were the last to institute that as an office. But she is the one who did it, and she is the one who really pushed for it. So she has a history of making those decisions that are towards inclusion, and I appreciate that. And I am willing to give the whole thing a chance personally, especially because as part of her speech to Ansiora, she made a promise to put together a plan to further DEIB policy within Ansiora, and to have that plan be populace vetted. And so I'm really interested to see what that plan is going to consist of. And I'm really interested to see exactly how far forward we can bring policy towards progression. So I'm really hopeful, cautiously optimistic about where this is going to go. And like, it really sucks that this happened, but I am hopeful that this is going to be a net positive towards progressivism and inclusion in Ansiora. So I hope I hope that kind of tells you a little bit about what happened and why. I'm happy to answer any questions. We talked about it a little bit on my Discord. If you're interested in seeing that, or if you're interested in having a more direct conversation with me, join the Discord. Link is in the description. I am happy to talk to anybody about any of this. And as you can see, I try to be pretty even-handed about the way that I talk about it, even though I have very firm opinions and very firm beliefs and very firm ideas about how our policy should go and about the ways that people should be treated. I try to be accurate in my accounting of how things happened, because I think it's important that our history be as accurate as possible. So I try really hard not to include any hearsay or let my personal feelings color when I'm talking about these things that are like historical, you know? Okay, let's see what everybody said, because I couldn't read and talk about this at the same time. Let's see. Happy that the BOD moved so quickly. Yeah, they moved very quickly on Galen as well. And on Keith, who was the other person who was the one who threatened bodily harm and was R&D'd. Revocation and denial, revocation of membership, denial of participation. He can never come back to the SCA. They moved very quickly on that too, which is, I was glad to see that. And I hope that this decision is an indication. The board has had some really questionable things that they've decided lately. But I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction for the board too. Yeah, reassuring that there's enough of a majority to push for inclusivity rather than the opposite. So there is a group up in the DFW area, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, called the Steps. And some of the people who were kicked out of the SCA were resident in that area and who left. And they, when that happened, made a very strict internal policy about how they would be pushing for inclusion and the ways that they were going to do these things. And they went from, I think they did something ridiculous like triple or quadruple their participation in fighter practices and populace. So all of the people who are like, but if you kick us out, us being white supremacists, then your group is going to die, are incorrect. And we actually have data to back that up now, which they do not like hearing at all. Right now, they're saying it's a fluke because it's only one group, but we are working on collecting some of the other data about better inclusion, recruitment, and retention rates for groups that are taking a more progressive policy towards inclusion and diversity. That's in the works. So, pleasantly surprised with the BOD? Yes, me too. Fantastic. Jumping on that Discord immediately. Yes. So everybody who wants to be on the Discord, you will jump into the rules, the welcome, and hop over to the rules board, read the rules, and there will be some reactions that you can make to those rules, which will then assign you roles on the Discord, open up the rest of the Discord so you can kind of see and interact. I know it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's a way for me to screen out bots and people who are not necessarily there in good faith because you agree to the rules, you understand them. Yeah. Do king and queen have logistically different roles that make being a solo queen difficult? No, not necessarily. The reason that it's a little odd that it's odd for anybody to rule solo. But in a lot of kingdoms, it is there is a sovereign and there is a consort, right? The person who is sovereign is the person who has won the tournament physically, bodily. The consort is the person who rules with them, and that is basically their inspiration. So you have, the action, the inspiration. We do have a queen in our past, Rowan, who is the only queen of Anstiora who has won by right of arms. There are a couple of other people who have won, who have been queen, who have won by right of arms. Princess, I don't know if there's actually been another queen. I'm not up on that right now. But statistically speaking, it is usually men who win crown and women who rule beside them. So having a monarch on the throne who has not won by right of arms is a thing that doesn't happen very often. Logistically, it's difficult for anyone to rule solo because it's a big job. It's a big job even for two people. And oftentimes with as big of a kingdom as we have geographically, there are some times where the pair will separate so that they can attend two events instead of just one. There's some that they'll go to together and there's some that will, happen apart from them, just so that they can hit more events over the course of their reign. So that's really the only thing that I meant was not only has she not won by right of arms, but also it's a freaking big job, and that's going to be really difficult. And I hope that she has a big enough support network in place that she will be able to rule effectively. Yep, Crown Princess. Personally, I've never been comfortable enough to join the SCA. Yeah, I totally understand that. As a Black person, as a trans person, as somebody who is mundanely marginalized on several axes, I 100% understand why you would make that decision, why anybody who has multiple axes of marginalization would make that decision. And I fully support it. I am here. I'm in it. I have made the decision to stay and use the privilege that I have, both as a white person and also a person who has attained the level of peer, in order to, one, set a good example, and two, use that platform to enact as much change and as much inclusion as I can. There have been some strides made recently that give me hope, but also I get it. I get that doesn't feel like enough, and that there are still a lot of people in there that you don't know. And I can't vouch for everybody. I can't even vouch for half of the people in my kingdom because I don't personally know them well enough to do that. So how am I going to vouch for an entire organization? I will always try my best to make sure that people have a safe place to land wherever they are. But I can't guarantee that. and I will always understand and advocate for people not joining something that they don't feel comfortable doing. So just wait and until you feel safe, because I would rather you not participate until you feel safe than come and be unsafe. Like, I'm still working and we're still working. And if we're not there yet enough for people to feel safe, then that's okay. And we'll keep working. Is your Discord link the Gentleman Pirate Tea? No, it's further down, Scott. It'll say underneath that, it'll say like social media, Discord, stuff like that. So also just text me and I'll get you the link. If you can't find it. Scott's a friend of mine, like personally. So I'll walk you through it if you need me. Is the tournament really the only way that rulers are decided? At a kingdom level, yes. Lokak, which is Australia and Oceania, so Aotearoa and Australia and Tasmania, some of the other places in Oceania, requested an exception from the board, and the board denied them. I don't know all of the ins and outs and the peculiarity. I have not read that decision. I just know that it happened. So I don't feel comfortable commenting further on that because I don't know the reasons why they did that. There are a couple of baronies. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Palatine barony of the far west. I don't even remember. It's Okinawa and Japan, and some other places. They do a rotation. So they do a fighting thing, and then they do an A&S, an arts and sciences competition thing, and then I think they do something else too. I can't remember. I don't know if it's another different kind of martial thing or if it's just chivalric tournament and A&S tournament, but they rotate. And I think that there's another couple of small baronies or smaller groups that do that. But at the kingdom level, yeah, it's you fight, you win. Ask me how I feel about that one. I feel like an arms contest is pretty ableist if that's the only way to become a community leader. Yes, that is a thing we have been saying for a while, is that that is an inherently ableist competition, and the response to that is always find somebody to fight for you. Ask me how I feel about that. So yeah, I'm waiting for consistent changes over long periods of time. Yes, agree. And you should make us prove ourselves, because in the past we have not. And lasting and consistent change is the only appropriate apology. So hold us to it and wait. Make us do the work. Or not make us. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Bum, bum, bum. I remember a positive experience. Yeah, it has been a very positive experience in my life as well. And I know part of that is due to privilege, and part of that is due to the places that I have landed, and part of that is just freaking luck. I have been very lucky. And I know people in my friend group who have not had the same experiences because they study things that are outside of Western Europe, or because they are not white, or because they are not cisgender. And these are people who interact with the same people that I do. And so I try really hard to acknowledge that even within the same circle of people in the same groups, everybody is going to have an individual experience. And that may be good or might not be as good. And if it's not good, I hope you all tell me so I can try and do something about it. Let's see. Queen in my own right. All right, cool. Can a monarchy change the way to gain the throne in their kingdom? No. That is a board of directors thing, because that is part of the governing documents outline that. So that is not a thing that kingdom law can change. That is a thing that has to come down from the board of directors and the SCA. Yeah, I didn't know that was the official response. I don't know that it's actually the official response. that is always when people talk about this on an informal level around campfires, or even in debates around how things should be done, or at roundtables or things like that. That is the response. So it is not necessarily an official response, but it is a very common response that you should, that anybody of any ability can be a consort. You just have to find somebody able-bodied to fight for you. And that's not even talking about the privilege that it takes to be able to spend the time and the money to have access to equipment and armor and practice. I can't go to practices. I can go to practices every other week, but I can't go to practices because half of the time I have my kid and they go late and they're on school nights. So I do not have the privilege of going to a weekly practice, even if I was a fighter, to get that practice in. I can't do it. And so that's a privilege that has nothing to do with my body, but definitely has something to do with my ability to access the things that I would need in order to be good enough to rule in that way. Let's see. Rachel says, not only is that ableist, it also means that all crowns are people whose contribution to the organization is through combat, and that doesn't necessarily make a good leader. Yeah, correct. There are some other requirements that kingdoms can put on people in order to, like, you have to meet these requirements in order to enter the crown list. And for us here, that is a term of service. So you have to have worked, done a term of service for your barony and at the kingdom level, I believe. And that's kind of it right now. We don't have a lot of additional requirements that are in place. So it's really frustrating, and it really serves a very small margin of people best. And quite honestly, they are very vocal in their reluctance to support a change to that rulership method. I keep joking that my next ANS project is going to be a practical experimental archaeological approach to the Magna Carta. And most people think that's funny. There are a few people who have not that was funny. I'll let you guess who didn't think that was very funny. Skewed towards rich, abled, and not more involved parent in a family. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or childless people. Also a lot easier for them. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. You were the person who gave me the courage to give the SEA a real chance. Aw, I'm so glad. And you had a wonderful time. And I'm so glad that you have had a wonderful time. I'm very glad for that. Barony level for requirements. Yeah, and on Stira. Yeah, so I hope that this trend is going to pave the way towards more inclusiveness, not just regarding acceptance of people studying different cultures, of different races, and of different sex and gender orientations, but also for disability inclusion. One of the things that we've started having in at our events is like a quiet room. And that's basically a place where people who are experiencing sensory overwhelm can go. There are headphones provided, and there are earbuds or earplugs provided. It is a space where rank is not acknowledged, so you don't have to like even play the game of pretending that people have rank and that there is deference or anything like that. And so I'm hoping that is a thing that carries forward through this reign, because the crown princess is actually the one who sponsored it at the last event. And so I'm hoping that becomes a more widespread thing, that we have available. I guess we'll see. Hello, Aaron on Discord. Oh, yay. Cool. Awesome. Can one kingdom overthrow another kingdom? No. I'm trying to understand the point of requiring the throne to be gained by arms specifically. Okay, so the thing that you have to understand is that the origins of the SCA were not as a very thought through organization with, a good flow chart and structure and everything like that. It started as a bunch of freaking nerds who got together in San Francisco in the backyard of one of their friends' house and threw a party that also happened to be a tournament. And the person who was the tournament was basically like, oh, the tournament king, like this is the person who was the tournament king. And then, like his girlfriend or wife or whatever was the person who was like the spring queen. And then, that it was kind of a one-off thing for a little bit. And then they did another one, and then they did another one, and then they did another one. But it sort of grew up out of this sort of unstructured, we don't know what we're doing, so we're just going to have like a bunch of tourneys, and then kind of accidentally stumbled into being an international organization with these policies, that I don't think anybody actually ever has taken the time to go through and revamp, because I think that would be a harder thing to do than the current leadership is willing to do. I'm not saying it's not impossible, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm just saying it's a bigger job than I think people are currently willing to undertake, which is frustrating to me on a personal level. Yes, I was pregnant with my daughter when we started. We chose not to run for Baron and Baroness because we still have a kid at home. Yeah, I was really very lucky when I started my ANS career. I was a stay-at-home mom to a kiddo who was not a baby anymore, but was not school age yet. And I kind of lightninged my way to peerage. So I was very quick. And I was able to do that partially because I had the luxury of making my own hours. And I have the benefit of being neurodiverse and being able to leverage my hyperfixation and my anxious energy on making things and doing things. And I also had a spouse at the time who was supportive of me doing those things. I had a lovely village of people who were willing to help me be at events with a kid, because my ex-husband didn't really play. So Tornado would stay with him sometimes, and Tornado would come with me most times. And even when I had them at events, I had a bunch of people who were capable and willing to help me do that. And that was just to be a peer, not to be a baron and baroness, not to be sovereign and consort. I can't even imagine trying to do those things with small children. Inconceivable to me. Yeah, the Volga Tartar heritage, Turkic Central Asian SCA is missing out. Yeah, we have a lot. I am very lucky that in my friend group, I count a friend of mine who is studying Nahuatl, and he is bringing some really amazing things to the SCA through his research into Central American heritage, and it's just amazing to see that. And it's not my personal focus. It's not my jam to study, but it is my jam to see him be so excited, because all knowledge is a blessing and all of that is added value. And I just I love it so much. It's fantastic. If they wanted to, they would. Yeah. If they wanted to, they would. It is a big undertaking, and I understand that. But I think that if we, as a full organization, pulled for it and contributed to it, then that is the kind of change that we could affect on a wide scale. And it frustrates me to no end to see that that is not being prioritized. Tornado does rock. They're going to be at BAM too. They're coming with me to War of the Rams, so you'll see them there if you come, Scott. Husband, yep. It is, yes, it is so good. I just I have never had a hobby that is simultaneously so enjoyable and so frustrating. It is a hobby of extremes. And one of the reasons that I'm willing to bear this frustration and do this work is because I find the result so rewarding and so amazing. It has the ability to be sublime. And those moments those moments are the things that I am doing this work for, and that I am encouraging other people to do this work for, because it has the ability to be such a force for good and such a force for positive in people's lives. And I want everybody to experience the same amount of positivity in their lives that I have in mind because of this organization. So that's the plan. Yeah, all knowledge is a blessing. That's the thing. There have been, I actually, have there been breakaways from the SCA who have broken away specifically because they wanted those changes? Yes, there are. And some of them have gone in directions that don't pull me. For example, AmpGuard has, I will put forward that AmpGuard has both a leadership structure and an award organization structure that is superior to ours. But AmpGuard often is lacking the historically adequate component that I am really looking for. And so, because that is a priority for me in my hobby, I choose to stay in the SCA and pull that Overton window towards what I want it to be, rather than go to an organization who don't meet my priorities as a hobby because the logistics match. If that makes sense. Let's see. If you're on the Discord, y'all are missing out. Our Discord is really great. It is I really enjoy all of the people who are in the Discord. Let's see. Yeah, you've got it, Scott. AmpGuard is live D&D rather than historical. And it's not that I don't enjoy that necessarily. It just doesn't move me in the same way that the historical stuff does. I also have I have other problems with AmpGuard, which I'm not going to get into here because we've already now gone like an hour and a half, and I don't want to like belabor the point of, basically you pick the thing that you want and you deal with the things that you don't love about it. So could I be an AmpGuard and be historically adequate there? I could, but it would be me. It would be just me doing that, because that is not the thrust of that organization. So I would miss everybody else also facing the same direction, you know? And it's real awkward doing that. It's real awkward being the only one there who is, that's what they're there for. Because I have gone and done that. Partner is a knight in Amtgard and has served kingdom level offices in Amtgard. And I have many friends in Amtgard and I love them. And I go and I enjoy it. But the thing that I enjoy is hanging out with my friends, not participating in the organization. And that's not enough for me to be as deeply involved in that organization as I am in the SCA. Yeah, the network of academics in the SCA. There are more academics in the SCA because the SCA is more academically focused. And I'm not trying to say that the lack of academics in Amtgard is bad. It's just not their focus. And that's fine. Totally fine. Just not my jam. See, this is why I just hang out with you, Scott. Scott is also a knight in Amtgard and has had many offices held. And we have a very small group of us who cross game, who go back and forth between the SCA and Amtgard. And basically we all just hang out together. And so those are the people that I go and I hang out with when I go to Amtgard events. It's just my friends at a different park, basically. So yeah, and that's fun. It's fine. But trying to be that person outside of the camp is very awkward. It's weird. But in any case, so I feel like I've adequately summed up the what the hell is happening in Obscura lately question, which I wanted to kind of do. I thought about making like a little video statement about it and kind of explaining it, but I didn't want to do that until it was done. I didn't want to do that until things had reached a conclusion. And then by the time things had reached a conclusion, it was very close to now. And so I was like, I'll just talk about it in the live stream. And I'll probably just put like markers. Yeah, I'll put like chapter markers where it is so that people can find it later. But yeah, so I think I'm pretty much done. But Amtgard is more inclusive towards marginalized folks. I actually don't know, because I don't participate in the organization as much. I don't actually know. I know that their award structure is different, and I know that the way that they choose leadership is different, and I think better. But I don't actually know the climate there well enough to comment on. So leadership, it varies. It varies a lot. But as far as I know, how leadership is decided is that people will get together and form coalitions. Basically, you'll put together a slate of people. You as monarch, here is your slate of people that you're going to work with, and then people vote on the slate. People vote for who they want to be rulership of them, or to be ruling over them, to have rulership. And then that slate are the people who are in leadership for however long that happens. Again, this is me being very broadly generalizing and speaking as somebody who doesn't really participate. I just know people who do. So I could be saying things that are incorrect, and I want to be really upfront with that. But that means that people don't have to fight in order to get into leadership. So in that way, I think it's a better system. And people can be like, well, that's just a popularity contest. Like, yeah, welcome to democracy. I'm glad you read the assignment. That's the point. You get to choose who you want to be leading you. And of course, there are problems with that. Of course, there are going to be problems with that because no system is perfect. But I think having the chance towards, like, having the chance of being more inclusive, like that, I think that's inherently a more inclusive system of leadership. Um, I would have to disagree if you can't become king by any means other than if that isn't inclusive. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I believe that Scott was responding to my statement about like racial and like gender marginalization inclusion. But again, I agree with you that it needs to be inclusive on all levels. And I just can't speak to the other stuff really. So I think he was trying to speak to that for me, which is nice. Yeah, Gloria Stickjock in early years of Amcard, who was a horrible monarch. It happens. I mean, we have service people that I think would make horrible monarchs. And the thing is like service, being able to do service doesn't mean that you're going to be any better of a leader than somebody who is a whiz at embroidery or somebody who is a whiz at, shooting targets. Because leadership is a skill set completely aside from any of those other things. And I think it's really important to like keep that in mind and set expectations of leadership. Needle junk. Yeah, that's me. I'm the needle junk. But yeah, like I said, no system of rulership is perfect because people are always going to be people and systems are always going to be systems, and there is no inherently perfect system. I just think that voting is a method that lends itself to a wider field of people, and as such is a more inherently inclusive leadership choosing method. Leadership is a skill set. This is another soapbox that I'm not going to get started on. Everybody has heard me already go off on pedagogy within the SCA and how we don't support artisans to teach very well. I feel the same thing about service and leadership. We do not set our leaders up to lead very well because I think that the way that we train leaders is that we don't. And it is all accidental. And if you happen to be good at leading and get into a place of leadership, then that's great. Like if you happen to be an artisan, or if you are an artisan and happen to be good at teaching, then you kind of stumble into being a good teacher in the SCA. But there are not as many mechanisms to train those people to do those jobs as I would want. And that's me. Yeah, I agree. And again, how do we gauge that? How do we, scaffold people to be able to succeed in leadership, as in teaching, as in, other things? It's frustrating. Everything's frustrating. And it's frustrating also because it is a volunteer organization, and the people who are most likely to be doing the work in volunteering are the people who are most likely to not be getting the support that they need, leading them to burnout. And then that institutional knowledge is lost because there is not an emphasis on codifying institutional knowledge into policy in a way that means that is all preserved. Yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, it has almost been 2 hours now. And see, this is why I only do live streams like once a quarter, because I just don't have like the time or the stamina to be able to do a 2-hour live stream like every month. But in any case, I appreciate all of you and I love the discussions that we have here. And if you would, again, if you would like to have these discussions with me on a more one-on-one basis, if you would like to join in discussions that are already happening about these things, please join our Discord. It is wonderful over there. We try really hard to, have conversations about important things and stuff. But until next time, friends, thank you for joining me. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. And you know the drill. Do the work. Continue supporting marginalized people. Keep creating. Well.